Welcome back to Transaction Thursdays. I'm Christina, your host, and today we're going to be talking about what is a transaction coordinator. So, a transaction coordinator in the real estate industry is essentially an assistant to a real estate agent. They help see the contract through from the time it goes under contract until the time it closes. So their ultimate goal is to make sure that there is a seamless process, a very smooth process for all parties involved. This includes your agent that you're working with, your buyer or seller, um, really focusing on them to make sure that the transaction process is as smooth as possible, or as smooth as possible, I should say, for the buyer or seller that your agent is representing. So you are kind of the go between. You are the communicator. You are the one doing all of the communicating, all of the scheduling, making sure that all of the documents are compliant, and ultimately getting that contract to the closing table. Now, your main goal here, again, is to make this process as smooth as possible. So that means that you have to be um, sometimes an over communicator, depending on the client, but you have to know what's going on. You have to have an order. Okay. So you have to have clarity in the chaos, because if your buyer or seller, let's say this is their first time buying or selling a home, they're going to be overwhelmed. They're going to be a little stressed out. They're not going to know exactly what's going on. They want to know where this process is, like where their contract is in the process throughout the entire process. They need to know who's holding their earnest money, when is their earnest money due, when is their inspection deadline, who are their inspection company choices, when do we schedule that. Like, they need to know. There's so much stuff that they need to know. There's so much that goes into a real estate contract from the time it goes under contract until it closes, and that is where you come in. So it would be your job as a transaction coordinator to take the contract initially. Your agent would bring you the contract, bring you all of the documents, not literally bring it to you. This can be digital. You can have it emailed to you with all of the information that you need for all of the parties. Excuse me. And you're going to be the go between everybody. So you're going to send out introduction emails to your agent, your buyer or seller, the other agent, the title company, the lender. You're going to possibly schedule home inspections. You're going to let everybody know when the earnest money is due. The earnest money is kind of like I don't want to say a down payment, but they hold money in an escrow account. So the client has a little bit of skin in the game, and that money is then released at closing, or it's subtracted in the closing documents. Regardless, they need to know where they're turning that in, when it's due, when the inspections are due. You'll do the scheduling. You'll keep up with all of the deadlines. You will have a running checklist. I hope, if you are a current transaction coordinator and you do not use a checklist, I don't know how you keep up with your stuff, because you would have to have a checklist. You would send out all emails, make sure that all parties are involved in the process, are kept in the loop all throughout the process. And then when there's a lender involved, there are certain lender guidelines. Like where I live, we have a 3-day loan application deadline. So the client has to have their application in on their loan and their credit pulled within 3 days. There's a 14-day appraisal deadline where I live. So you would have to have a 14-day, the appraisal has been ordered, the homeowner's insurance is in place and ready to go into effect the day of closing. And then you would schedule closings. You would schedule final walkthroughs where the buyers would go through and review the home, a day or two before closing, maybe even the morning of closing, and make sure that's still in the same condition or better condition as it was before. Now, what do you not do as a transaction coordinator? You do not negotiate under any circumstances unless you are a licensed real estate agent. You do not negotiate repairs. You do not negotiate appraisals. You do not negotiate pricing. You don't negotiate anything unless you are licensed. I have in the past, as a transaction coordinator, even attended closings on behalf of the agent. I personally wouldn't recommend this just because the agent needs to be there. But if you choose to do that, that's up to you. It's something you can do. I just wouldn't personally recommend it. So that's essentially the role of a transaction coordinator. They are the go between all the parties. So you are that one stop shop for everybody involved. They come to you. They should be able to know where the transaction is, where what process it's in, where what's been done, what needs to be done to get it to the closing table. So that is all for this video. I will see you in the next video.